See that Lone Pine up on that hill over there? What are we actually doing right now? The kids are just wild out there. They're wild. But they're having a good time, you know? They're having a good time. This is Untamed, Unbroken, The Adventurer's Guide, and I'm your host, Blake Bredesen. Welcome back to Untamed, Unbroken. Today we are talking about camping with little kids, and we're going to give you a little guide. And when I say kids, I'm talking 5-year-olds, 2, 3, 4, 5, under 10 really. But I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. The 2-year-old has been camping since he was about 5 months old. They were born in the winter, so, springtime, started camping with him. And then our daughter, older, she started camping when she was 1. So we've been doing it, we're in it, and I'm going to give you a little rundown on how to prepare for it, how to pack for it, what to look for, what to do, different activities, and things like that. So first things first is planning. You got to choose the right campsite, choose the right campground. So we're looking for family-friendly campgrounds with amenities for the most part. When we are camping at a campground, it's bathrooms, having some showers, running water. Sometimes having electricity is nice. Even if you're tent camping, having a campsite with electricity can be a really nice thing. If you're RVing, obviously you don't necessarily need electricity, but having some water and electricity at a campground in an RV is obviously going to be really nice. Proximity to home. So you're looking for those family-friendly campgrounds, but also closer to home in case of an early departure, especially if it's the kids' first time. They're just getting used to this camping experience, this new, fun outdoor experience. And just make sure it is kid-friendly, right? Kid-friendly, small kid-friendly. Can you bring them into the backcountry and do that? Yes, you can. People do that. It's just a totally different experience. And maybe that's not what you want to do for their first experience. But it's totally okay if that is what you want to do. I'm gearing this towards a guide towards what we've done with our kids. So another thing to do when you're looking for the right campground is researching those campgrounds and their activities. Do they have kid-friendly hiking trails nearby? Do they have a pool? What kind of amenities do they have? Pool, splash pad? Do they have a playground? Or maybe nearby there's a lake, there's a park and playgrounds. Sometimes campgrounds will organize activities or have different programs for kids and families to do at the campground. And so looking into that in the planning phase and what's going to be the best option for you that's closer to home in case you have to bail and have that exit strategy, but also have a bunch of fun things for the kids and the family to do and kind of helps keep them distracted from home if they do get homesick, but keeps them busy and having some fun. So we know the planning. Let's talk packing. Clothing. Layered clothing for varying temperatures is always good. We always bring raincoats and rain boots pretty much year round. Doesn't matter when. Crocs. Put your kid in Crocs. Those are like the best shoe, especially for camping. Yes, their feet will get dirty in them, but if they get wet, it doesn't matter. So Crocs all around are amazing unless the temperatures are on that colder side. Extra clothes, bring a lot of extra coats. The kids get dirty quick when they're outdoors 24/7, other than sleeping. So we always bring a minimum of 2 pairs of clothes, 2 changes of clothes per day for the kids on these types of trips. Just, that's kind of what we do. You could totally get by without doing that and just wash them, hang dry them, or whatever you need to do to get by for the weekend or a week or whatever it is. Sleeping gear, sleeping bags, make sure they're rated for the appropriate temperatures. That's the last thing you want is your kids to be cold at night. Comfortable sleeping pads or air mattresses or cots, whatever you're sleeping on. If you're in the RV, again, just still making sure that it's going to be a comfortable sleeping temperature, whether that is making sure it's not too hot and making sure it's not too cold, right? Just getting that comfort zone, blankets, make sure, don't forget their favorite, stuffed animals or their favorite blanket. Bring those, gives them some comfort from home type of thing. Camping gear, big family sized tent with a lot of space, easy to set up. Practice it beforehand if you've never set one up. So those are nice, having a nice big tent. We have a 10 by 12 foot tent. They make them even bigger. And these big family size tents, they're nothing crazy price wise. They're big and they're bulky. So price wise, they stay pretty affordable. It's not until you get into like the really nice camping tents and ultralight gear that you start to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But for the family stuff, I mean, you can get all of this stuff at a Walmart if you wanted to. It's pretty easy to do. Portable, bring a pack and play. One thing we've done is it's basically like this pop-up playpen. It's like a hexagon shaped, pops up. You can throw a bunch of toys in there. This is really good for babies that are in like that they're crawling around and playing. It has a little tent or a little roof essentially that you can put on it. Be careful in high winds. We have one of those. I forget what it's called. I'll figure it out and I'll link it below because it's pretty awesome. We actually use it inside of our house now as a ball pit. And that's what the kids call it. They call it the ball pit. So having one of those is really nice because then you can put your little one, if they're under 1 and they're not walking yet, even if they're walking, the kids like to go in there and play and roughhouse around. But that's a really good one. Just put in there and then you can have a seat next to them and relax a little bit, having them set down in a nice safe spot, throw some blankets down in there. But just think like a small pop-up hexagon or octagon shaped pop-up tent that has an optional removable roof is pretty awesome. And when it comes to the pack and play and sleeping, Slumber Pod, I've said it before, Slumber Pod blackout tent is amazing, especially if you're going to be in a 10 by 12 tent or a 12 by 16 tent or something like that, where you're all in that same space. Having a blackout tent over a pack and play for the little ones that are still in those and they're not in a bigger bed situation is a game changer, because you can go in and out and they don't see you, which often will help in them not getting upset if they don't see you. We obviously try to be quiet as you can, but it's hard to be quiet with a zipper on a tent. Let's talk a little bit safety, health, bringing first aid kit, having kid-specific items, lots of Band-Aids just in case, right? Antiseptic wipes, child-friendly pain relievers, having some children's Tylenol and ibuprofen is a big one. Children's allergy medicine, if they have allergies and they're on that stuff, making sure you just remember to bring it for whatever your kids have. Having some stuff for bug bites is good too. Insect repellent and sunscreen, the kids safe type of stuff. And up to you on this one. Personal, I wrote it down, personal ID, like an ID bracelet or something for the kids. I don't know if people do that. We personally have not done that with our kids, but something to think about. Let's move on to food and snacks. So meal planning, you want to keep this simple, keep it easy to prepare meals, even one-pot meals, even pre-made meals, pre-made salads. You can pre-make like chicken tacos in a crock pot and just heat it up. That's one of our favorite things to do. Doing some pulled pork and then just heating it up. You don't want to, I feel like camping, especially with little kids, you don't want, for us, we have 2 adults, it's 2 adults, 2 kids. Having one of us locked in or both of us locked into cooking an extravagant meal doesn't make sense with a 2 and a 5-year-old. Because one, they'll eat some of it, but they would be just as happy with hot dogs cooked over the fire or sandwich and fruit. Bring their favorite kind of snacks and items. Fruit is a huge one. For whatever reason, them running around, being outside all day, fruit hits the spot every time. So bring fruit. Snacks, bring in some non-perishable type snacks like granola bars, dried fruit. You know, we do a lot of goldfish. We like crackers, that type of stuff. Treats, s'mores, trail mix, bring in some sort of dessert type stuff that you can keep in a cooler or in your fridge if you have the RV. Make sure you bring plenty of water. We like to bring just a ton of bottled water. We have a big 6-gallon jug that I fill up at home and bring that with, and I'll usually leave that out like on the picnic table. And just for one, especially if you're there for a week, it's super helpful. Just rinsing hands quick. If the kids get dirty, you get dirty. Just to have that outside, especially if you have the RV, if you have a camper, I always have this outside. But especially if we don't have the camper, then I really make sure to bring that and bring a ton of bottled water as well. And then bring whatever your kids like to drink, right? We make sure we bring some apple juice, some other fun things that are just kind of fun for camping, even Kool-Aid, like stuff like that. Kids love that stuff. Those little bottles that you get of like the blue, I forget what they're called. They're like small little, they're like 6 ounces, blue and red, little clear bottles with that little twist top. I forget what they're called. It'll come to me maybe. But they're like 49 cents at a gas station. They're the best. They're so good. They're so sugary. Hot chocolate, cooler evenings. Hot chocolate's always a big hit. So beverages, water. And then another little tip, just involving the kids in the preparation. Doing the pre-camping stuff. You do a backyard camp out, get the kids out of their comfort zone and get them comfortable with sleeping in a tent. Teach them some basic camping skills, involve them in setting up a tent and teach them about campfire safety. You can do all of this beforehand. Have them pack some of their own gear. Give them a backpack or a fanny pack of some sort and allow them to choose some of their favorite toys or books or some things that they want to pack and pack that in that backpack or that fanny pack or whatever it might be that you have to throw it in, and let them pack some of their own things and let them get really excited about it. So that's the prep phase. Now we're at the campsite phase, setting up camp. Assign roles. Give your kids age-appropriate tasks. Here, hand me that tent stake. You're in charge of the tent stakes. Hand me all of these. You're in charge of getting some water. However old the kids are, it's going to vary person to person, kid to kid, family to family. But just encourage some involvement from them. They're going to feel a sense of accomplishment too. They might not view it that way, but that's kind of what they're feeling too. They feel like they're needed. And then safety first. Clear the area of hazards, trip hazards, sharp objects. Look out for any poison ivy or anything like that. Make sure that stuff isn't around. And if it is, make sure you steer the kids clear of that stuff. Set boundaries of where they can and cannot go, especially if you're near water, if you're camping on a lake. You really got to keep your eyes on them. Daily activities. You can do things like nature exploration. You can go on these little hikes and walks. You can do fun things like identifying trees and plants, identify different animals, do fun scavenger hunts, age appropriate stuff. We've done that one where it's like, all right, we got to find a squirrel. All right, what type of tree is this? Doing some fun stuff like that, getting them involved and teaching them. You're helping them learn about the environment too. Campfire fun, stories, songs. You could sing around the campfire. You could tell some fun stories. You could have each kid tell stories. It's always fun listening to our 5-year-old tell a story. It's fun. Roasting mallows, man. You gotta bring the mallows. I'm a traditional s'mores guy. I like the traditional. Some people do a half bar of Hershey's chocolate. I like to do a quarter of the bar, so 3 of the little bars. That's what I do with 2 mallows, roasted perfectly golden brown, please. Boom, that's my favorite. But another really good one is those fudge stripe cookies. 2 fudge stripe cookies with a mallow in between them, or 2 mallows. That's the best. It's a really close second. People like to throw in Reese's peanut butter cups and all that stuff. I don't like to get into the peanut butter mix on my s'more, but to each their own. Then we got crafts and games. You could do one thing our kids really love to do when we're out camping is rock paintings. And we have these little paint pens, and we find some rocks and we let them paint them up, and they do some crafts. So think of some nature type of crafts like that you could do. You know, if they're old enough, they'll do some whittling. They could do some whittling, or just simple games too. Hide and seek, playing catch, frisbee. A lot of kids like to bring a football or a baseball and do that sort of thing, and that's all fun too. And then there's water activities. If you're swimming, if your campground has a pool, you got that pool and a splash pad. We always try to find. It's always a bonus when we're at a campground that has that pool and a splash pad, or at least a pool for the kids, for us to go cool off in. And our kids love the water, so we like to do that. If it's not a pool, then hopefully we're near a lake that has a beach or something like that, someplace we can go to. We also like canoeing, so we'll bring sometimes a canoe. We can do some fishing. I have a kid-size, 2 kid-size, actually one's an emergency paddle, but it's basically a kid-size paddle. And it extends to a little bit bigger, but I use it as a kid-size paddle, and another kid-size paddle, and we got some kid-size fishing gear, and let them have some fun with that and do a little bit here and there. Let's talk about some little camping tips or tricks and keeping the kids entertained. We like to pack familiar toys, familiar books, coloring books. Tell them some of their favorite bedtime stories, or we read some of those books. Kind of brings them back home. Do some interactive activities. Bring a pair of cheap binoculars if you want for bird watching. Bug catching kits and magnifying glasses. We have a couple of these that we've done, and those can be super fun because then the kids are out there trying to catch bugs and catch a butterfly or whatever they're trying to catch. A lot of times it's just ants, but they find stuff and they catch them, and that can be really fun. The magnifying glass, they're walking around with big eyes. And then as far as evening routines, we keep ours really consistent with our bedtime routine at home, although it generally gets pushed back, and they're up later when we're camping. That's how it is. But the routine is the same, where we get our jammies on, we brush our teeth, we read books, and then we get them to bed. Like, that's our routine. That's what we do. We bring the nightlight that Briar has, our daughter has, from home. We have that stuff with. Now, if we are camping in a tent and we don't have electricity, we don't have those things. But if we're in the RV, we have those things. Or if we have electricity, then I have an extension cord. You can bring that extension cord with an adapter. So you have 3 or 4 outlets that you can use to plug things in. Plug in a small little nightlight for them if they want that, or to charge your phone and stuff like that. So just give them some of those nighttime comforts that they have at home. You can do that while camping. Super easy. And then ensuring safety. With little kids especially, like our 2-year-old is on the go. He's fast. He likes to explore. He likes to get into the woods and crawl around. So constant supervision. That's why it brings me back to the cooking scenario, where if you keep things easy cooking, then at least one of you can be in constant supervision of the kids, especially near water and especially around campfires. And establish those rules, clear rules about the boundaries and safety, staying within sight. Don't touch the wildlife, let's be honest, good luck touching the wildlife, unless you're in Wyoming and you're trying to touch a freaking bison, you idiot. Emergency plan. Know the location of the nearest medical facility. That's always a good one to know, is like, where do we go if there is an emergency? Obviously, you know who to call. But also, if it's not a real it's not an emergency in that regard, then you know where to go. Have a plan for what to do if someone gets lost. Have a meeting point maybe set up. If you're in a campground and your 5-year-old is running around and then all of a sudden she's lost, can't find her way back to your campsite, you've set up a meeting place, and it's walk around to the front or the entrance of the campground up by the clubhouse or the pool, or meet at the playground. If you get turned around, then you know you can do something. Or if they have a little whistle, they can blow that whistle and you'd be like, all right, where are you at? A big thing to make camping fun and educational. It's a learning opportunity. It's a nature education, outdoor skills. Teach them about the local flora and fauna. Use field guides. Use apps on your phone. Use an app to check out the night sky. Use an app to look at animal tracks, or to look at plants and trees, or what the local wildlife is. Teach them outdoor skills. As they get a little older, you can teach them those fire building skills. You can teach them how to tie knots. And then you can always practice and teach them the leave no trace principles, and just taking care of your environment and your surroundings and not being a piece of garbage. And then encourage independence. So age appropriate responsibilities. We talked about that. Letting them help set up the tent, letting them help cook and clean up. Those are big things for kids, to feel like you trust them with responsibilities. And then problem solving. Encourage them to think of solutions for small problems, like setting up a game, or finding a lost item, or like, hey, how would I tie a line here? Like, how do I tie a line around this tree? Help them think through it. All right, troubleshooting some common issues like weather changes and homesickness. So homesickness, dealing with that, comfort items, man. Make sure you're bringing along their favorite things, like a favorite toy or a favorite stuffed animal, or if they have a few, bring them all. Blankets, their favorite blanket, bring those things, those comfort items, and then just stay positive, keeping a positive attitude, reassure them it's normal to miss home, but then also keep them busy, distraction techniques, engaging in fun activities to take that off their mind. And then handling weather changes. You always just be prepared to have some extra clothes for unexpected weather, raining, rain jacket, rain boots. If you got the Crocs and it's warm enough, just go splash in the puddles. Have indoor activities ready to go. If there is some extreme weather, know where like the nearest storm shelter would be that you could escape to. So it's obviously not your tent. Your tent doesn't have a basement. Stay dry. Ensure that your tent is waterproof, and bring an extra tarp. Make sure your tent is seam sealed and it's good to go. You're not just dripping in a bunch of water in your tent. Bring some quick drying towels, like Turkish towels, microfiber towels, ones I bring to like the Boundary Waters and stuff. Those are really nice to have. And then, like I said before, kids go through the extra clothes. They go through the clothes quick. They get dirty, they get wet, whatever it might be. And finally, post-trip activities, reflecting on the trip. Have a family talk about it. What were their favorite parts? What did they learn? What didn't they like? And then create some memory keepsakes, scrapbook, photos, drawings, a photo album on your phone, drawings if they did any of that stuff. Maybe they had some cool painted rock from the trip that you want to keep. And then use those discussions, the family discussions about what they liked, what they didn't like, what you guys liked, and what you learned, and then plan your next one, plan your next adventure. Discuss those things, what worked well and what didn't, and what could be improved for next time. Or maybe there's some gear you need to bring, or some things you definitely didn't need. Think about those and involve the kids in planning, asking them some questions and helping and letting them choose the next destination or choose some of those activities. That does it for my little guide to camping with kids. I hope you got something out of it. As always, stay wild. Thank you for sticking around. If you've enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a rating and review, even one word. It helps a ton. Sincerely appreciate you guys. Thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Stay wild.
You've been listening to Untamed, Unbroken, a Lone Pine Adventures original podcast.